Have you ever been in that weird situation where you're greeting someone and you're not quite sure whether to shake their hand, give them a hug, or do the cheek-to-cheek kiss thing? You don't really know what's appropriate in that given context, and then the whole cheek-to-cheek kiss thing gets even more complicated with the number of times you kiss each cheek. And in Germany, we usually shake hands and perhaps give the person a hug or a kiss if they're friends or relatives. In Italy, Spain, and Portugal, it's a quick kiss on each cheek, whereas in the Netherlands, it's 3 kisses on alternating cheek. So, when greeting someone, you may be confronted with an ambiguous situation in which the accepted and familiar greeting is not clear to you. Greetings are part of social norms. I have different cultures inside of me, all of which are different in certain aspects, and I have built a unique cultural identity from what I believe are the best parts of each. I've moved and traveled around a lot throughout my entire life. I've stumbled across several different cultures. I myself am an amalgamation of different cultures. My father's Dominican, my mother's German, and I was born in Mexico. In other words, kiss, kiss, handshake, hug. Within my family, the concept of time is one aspect that causes a lot of conflict. You see, my family is spread out throughout the entire globe, which means that we don't get the chance to get together very often. So when we can, we like to go out for a proper family dinner. Though it's challenging to get everyone together in the first place when everyone seems to be busy all the time and has a different schedule. I could also argue that it's an even greater struggle to get the family to show up at the same time. We always manage to get the family together for special events. So I remember not too long ago, my family and I were stepping out of the house when we received a frantic phone call from my grandparents. You see, like good Germans, they had arrived 10 minutes early to the dinner and were concerned due to the rest of the family's apparent absence. 20 minutes later, when we arrived, we found 2 very flustered grandparents sitting anxiously at the end of a long and empty restaurant table. And we took our seats, of course, apologizing for our late arrival. About half an hour after the original meeting time, my grandmother decided to join us with her lovely, albeit tardy presence, with a smile on her face, not worried in the slightest for being late. And this happens on a regular basis, which is why we've now started telling her that dinner's half an hour earlier than it actually is. So based on this example, it is clear that there are differences in the concept of time across cultures. Dominicans tend to not let themselves be ruled by time, whereas punctuality is important to Germans. Social norms present themselves as certain ways of doing things and certain ways of looking at things. For example, the level of formality when addressing someone, the German formal Sie. Social norms are essentially agreed upon ways of expression and perception of the world. Language, concepts of time, emotional expression, politeness, and personal space all fit into this category. And with each of these aspects that we can look at, we also see that this varies from culture to culture. Therefore, it is not easy to prepare oneself broadly for these foreign social norms. This leaves room for ambiguity. And with room for ambiguity, there's room for misunderstanding and conflict. We all do the same things in slightly different ways. If I move to a new country, or even just visit a new country, no one will tell me what the accepted and familiar are. And yet, there are these societal expectations which, if I don't fulfill, I may end up being disrespectful. With taking a look at immigrants, coming from completely different cultures that don't necessarily have the same social norms as ours. Without proper integration, how can we expect them to abide by our social norms? Can we really blame them if they transgress some of our societal expectations? This does not excuse common ground rules of cohabitation and basic human rights, like respect for one another. So, how can we get past this ambiguity? Well, I'd say we should take a look at the world from a broader perspective. We should be open, and then we may choose to share our own cultural heritage with our new surroundings. And lastly, whilst preserving our own cultural identity, we may choose to adapt to some of the social norms. This way, we can embrace diversity and be one step closer to having a global mindset. This way, we can live in a world that is more understanding, with more respect and less ambiguity. Thank you.